We have Jolie Diane. We captured her back in California. Yay! Since we've done about 4 shows already. And she's here because we are taking this the next step in California as far as banning geoengineering and 5G, but geoengineering specifically. So yesterday, and she can tell her story, but yesterday we did go to Mr. McGuire, Congressman McGuire.
Yeah, our state senator.
State senator, excuse me, and left the paperwork that you have been working tirelessly on with all the other activists. And so there we go. Now we all have to follow up with phone calls.
That's right.
Phone calls, and I'll take it to Levine probably early next week.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And
so tell us what you've been doing with, I know you've been working tirelessly.
Me and tons of other people, thank goodness. A lot of people are really focused on this issue, and it's really coming into view in terms of people are understanding that there's something called weather modification. And so basically...
Education.
Exactly, because it seemed like something that was just kind of sci-fi, but no, actually, as it turns out, there's paperwork going back for just over 75 years. And in California specifically, we have weather modification and cloud seeding programs that are legal, and they were introduced and pushed ahead by Schwarzenegger in 2007. So our bill is modeled on the Rhode Island bill that was introduced, and now it has gone through the first committee, and now it's in a special study commission where they're going to examine the legislation and fine-tune it. For example, one of the members in the Natural Resources Committee wanted to find out how we can make the bill stronger, how there could be stronger penalties. Right now, when the bill is enacted, because it's only been introduced, but when it's enacted, it will be a $500,000 fine for geoengineering plus 190 days jail time. So, and that's just in Rhode Island.
And they want to make it tougher.
They did. They wanted to find out how they could actually make it tougher because, you know, as it is now with emissions and things like that for automobile industry, if you're polluting, you know, you'll get called, you know, someone will call the police on you, you'll get like a ticket, you know, and that's the same sort of structure that we're looking at. It's just nothing different. It's just regulating the industry like every other industry.
Right. So aside from Rhode Island, you've been working with Maryland and New York and Colorado. So please tell us what the update is on that.
So the wonderful thing is that people in the different states really want to get busy on this, and they want to do what Rhode Island did. And so basically now what we have is the prototype for the bill, and we're able to make it state specific for each other states. So we're in Maryland. We have one Maryland delegate that is going to put forth legislation for a study commission. It's actually a task force is what they call it in Maryland. And it's the same sort of thing that they're at in Rhode Island right now, which is they're going to examine the legislation, study the procedures.
After it goes into the first stage, like you were saying, how many more stages will there be approximately to get it actually into vote, and then how long will it take to get into vote?
That's a good question. So in Rhode Island, once it gets past the study commission where they'll have special experts come in and just kind of educate the members of the House and Senate, then once it passes through there, and they fine-tune the bill, then they'll introduce it on the House floor in Rhode Island, and then they'll get a chance to vote on it. And
in the House?
In the House, yeah. The Senate and the House will vote on it. And the reason that they put it into a commission is because the bill is so substantial. It's actually a brand new mechanism in regulating infrastructure for the geoengineering industry and the weather modification industry.
And it has never been done.
It has never been done. But the thing is, as we know, it's just like any other industry. Like imagine if we wouldn't have bothered to deal with the emissions on our cars. I mean, we would be, it's California. We care about the environment. And so it's really just the same idea, just applied to this industry. And yes, it's a very interesting journey that we've been on, because of course a lot of people pretended that it wasn't happening for so long.
Well, I talk every day about pretty much every day on this issue, and it's amazing how many people are waking up and that want to know. Once I start talking about it, they want to know more about it so they can really get the logical part of it and, you know, the scientific part of it. So I think it, you know, people are waking up, so that's a good thing. So Maryland, they're open to...
Absolutely. Now, the interesting thing about Maryland is they're one of 4 states that had a ban on weather modification. They actually had a ban on cloud seeding in 1965.
Wow.
So it was Maryland, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Illinois were 4 states that had a ban on cloud seeding.
Wow.
And actually before that, in 1955, the New Mexico legislature actually urged the federal Congress to ban cloud seeding in the United States. So we're talking decades.
So it has been tried to...
It has. They actually banned it in those states, but what happened was the regulations expired and the programs went from the Department of Agriculture over to the Department of Defense. And so that's why we lost all touch with it, and you know, we haven't been able to give any oversight.
Well, I wonder what happened to the support with the Department of Agriculture, and why didn't they push?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it kind of disappeared into the deep state, and we have the military industrial, which was very active with research and development programs, and what happened was we perfected these cloud seeding programs in Vietnam, and it was a crime there.
Yeah.
And so Kennedy actually was the first president to start deploying this kind of technology. They used, of course, Agent Orange. So you have Monsanto's role in there. But then once Kennedy was executed, Johnson brought the weather modification programs here to the United States. So you're seeing sort of this overarching... It shouldn't have happened. It was a coup. So a few states, you know...
So were they getting a cutback?
Well, it's a big business.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
if you're
is.
like,
It's huge.
you know, the cloud seeding business, for example, I mean, we've never really had the discussion, the public, and in 1967, when Pennsylvania prohibited cloud seeding, one of the representatives, the co-sponsor of the bill, said that cloud seeding is highly poisonous. It gets on everything, the cars, the agriculture, you know, everything. And so that was known. And so that's where we are now. We're kind of rethinking and looking at this industry that, you know, it's not accommodating our regulations. And we have to push forward for strong regulations for the environment, because geoengineering, as you know, is an internationally governed, or they're attempting to govern it internationally. And the reason is because they could never pass it in the United States. We've already banned sulfur dioxide in 2010, and that's one of the primary components of geoengineering, which we found in your lab's tests for here in Mill Valley.
Yeah. Aluminum, barium, strontium, and
sulfur dioxide,
yeah,
which is directly counter to our pre-existing regulations. So that's why our bill is basically showing up and going, hello, we have these regulations already, and you're going to have to comply, or it's going to be a fine and a penalty.
Yeah.
So that's where we're headed.
Well, we just have to keep, like Obama says, if you want anything done, you got to push.
You do.
push.
Do. And we should learn from, actually, the 5G movement here in California was successful stopping SB 649. And how did they do it? They had over 200 cities in California that were signing on to oppose it, and all the people came out of the woodwork. And that's what we need to do with this issue. People need to know, okay, Trump signed HR 353, which is the Weather Research Innovation Act of 2017. And then Obama, believe it or not, had a Weather Mitigation Act that involved cloud seeding in 2009. So the federal, they're not part of the solution at this stage in the game. It's very much the states showing up, and, you know, state law trumps federal law 365 days a year, 7 days a week. So we just need to show up.
So we can't even think about, at this stage, the feds, because we have to do it in individual states.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's countering not only the atmospheric pollution from the aerosols, like you said earlier, we're also going for the wireless emissions, the electromagnetic grid, which is, you know, pollution, even though we can't see it. So in our bill, we defined electromagnetism as an air contaminant. And then by showing up in all 50 states, we're helping to preserve the United States as, one nation. Because what is happening now is it's being determined outside of our infrastructure. And, countries like China, India, Russia, they don't have any, environmental regulations. It's not a priority for them. So again, that's why we have shown up, and we have little teams developing in the States. So if you go to zerogeoengineering.com, you can come and check in, tell me what state you're in, and we're hooking up people in the different states to have teams to do what we did yesterday, which was go visit your offices and bring the legislation. We'll help you with the documents that you need, we'll help you get your rain test, and you'll be part of this larger context of a national and international legislative initiative.
Well, isn't it really important right now, since we've already taken the first step to take the bill to Marin County here, then take it to Levine, and we did take it to McGuire. Isn't it important that they start getting phone calls for support of this, so they are more pushed by the public, we the people?
Exactly. It's like human nature. If these guys know that there's support around this bill, then they'll be more likely to champion it.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, something that, we had great meetings in Pleasanton yesterday. It's just very much fact-oriented, and we're basically, like I said, countering the federal legislation with our state-led initiative. And it's something that is possible. If we show up in every state, it's a different day. And at least we're pushing this conversation because, America has to lead in cleaning up the environment. And that's pretty much what we're talking about. It doesn't matter who is the talking head in that other part. We need to show up at the state level.
That was very diplomatic of you.
Well, it's just happy puppets over there, smiling faces.
Yeah. So, and what about New York?
Okay, so we do have a couple state senators in New York that are seriously looking at our bill and interested in sponsoring it. The good thing about there is that near Kennedy Airport, they already have an issue with the pollution at the airport. And it's literally destroyed Jamaica Bay, which is right by Kennedy Airport. So again, we're looking at ways that we can start to eliminate pollution. And some of the easy things we can do is look at these industries and find out, well, who is complying with our regulations, who's not. And then, our bill is like a money generating mechanism where, we're going to get the fines, and that's going to come back into the state. There's an application fee to sign up to try to get a license to do geoengineering, because there's going to be some industries, like at the ski resorts, for example, that are going to want to have geoengineering as they have for the last 50 years. But at least this time, the public will get to weigh in on that.
To produce more snow?
They want to say, they want more snow.
Oh my
goodness. But again, it's not a proven method. If you go back and look at the paperwork just for the decades of weather modification, it's not a proven method.
You mean cloud seeding?
Cloud seeding,
Interesting. Well, it seems like, though, it's scientifically proven that they are polluting us. The bottom line is that geoengineering is polluting us.
Absolutely.
I mean, I tested the rainwater in Mill Valley, and it came back with all those chemicals, and aluminum is causing Alzheimer's and autism, and it's gone up 10,000. It's probably more now. That was 2 years ago, 10,000%. So we have to take action.
Again, and this is something that's not a secret program. As a lot of people have said, this is a secret program, but it's actually not. We have the federal programs, but in California, again, we have legal cloud seeding, where they say, we're going to use silver iodide, we're going to use ground generators, we may use aircraft. But at the end of the day, the public never weighed in on this conversation, and it's an undemocratic activity. It's an undemocratic technology.
Do you think that was manipulated by the military initially? And they pretty much think they can do what they want to do.
Right. They're sidestepping regulations, and that's how they did it. I think through the black budget, and we have the CIA, which is actually spearheading these programs. If you look, I think it was last I think it was June 2016, you had Brennan, who was the former CIA director, and he was speaking at the Council on Foreign Relations and saying, yes, I'm really thrilled about stratospheric aerosol injection, where you could actually inject sulfur dioxide, and in order to, they say, block the sun so we can help with global warming or climate change, or, you know, and again, when you're talking about the CIA, you got to remember that this is an agency that's never done anything helpful for the planet. It's to bring more violence, more destruction. So we have to check, and we have to do our logic and critique when these agencies come to the table and try to present something like this. And that's why, again, it's so important that the public just shows up.
Well, first get educated on this, and then show up and show up, and push. So support. You know, I mean, I'm with you 100%, and we've been back and forth and doing shows for now a couple of years. So, you know, you the public, you the viewers, the listeners, we have to get more involved in this to stop this insanity, because it's slowly killing our society. I hate to be so blunt, but I mean, I know that there's a depopulation expose that's happening.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think in that is also, you know, looking at historically, again, what is cloud seeding? And if it was perfected in Vietnam, well, we know that it was a crime according to the Pentagon Papers. And so something that was a crime in Vietnam now is national policy. So we really do have to show up, get educated, as you said, and confront this and reject it and correct it, because it's definitely possible to do it when we show up. But right now, as I said, we have, you know, California had optimizing cloud seeding by Arnold Schwarzenegger in 2007. And so that's why what we're seeing in the sky, all this pollution is...
Yeah, is there a statute for, you know, of limitations on that? Or is that like when they implemented that, is that forever?
Well, until somebody stops it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's the thing. That's why our bill is so important right now, because we're calling to task. What is this cloud seeding? You never got permission. And again, it's an undemocratic activity, because where we can eat better and we can exercise, we can not smoke, you know, we can make all these good life choices, but we can't avoid breathing. And this is the thing with geoengineering. It's like, you know, again, if it's part of a depopulation agenda, you know, that is certainly, you know, something to look at. And at the end of the day, we can catch it all up legally with the justice system and recriminalize the pollution. You know, it's a very violent activity, and again, it hasn't been proven. And if we wanted more rain, we wouldn't want to add chemicals to get it. It's
no. And I think Mother Nature knows what she's doing.
Right.
You know, come on.
Right.
You know, but you know, the question I've had in my mind for so long, and I've talked to a couple pilots, and they are oblivious.
Right.
How can if they know about it? How can they, you know, they're drinking the Kool-Aid or being paid off, whatever. But, you know, when I see all these commercial planes that are geoengineering, spraying, I just think, how can they be doing this?
Okay, very simply. Here's how. In Obama's bill, which is S601, which is 2009, in Section 8, go read this. It says that if you're getting a paycheck for the United States, you're expected to comply with this bill. So if it depends on your job and getting your paycheck, it's very simple. And I think that that's the problem that we have, because it's like following orders, okay, and compartmentalization of these issues. And so people don't take the step back and look at the bigger picture and go, aluminum, barium, strontium, sulfur dioxide, you know, that is just, you know, unacceptable. So that's how they do it, and it's totally by the book. Again, California has weather modification on the books since the 1950s, and so it's not new. It's just never been challenged. And that's where we are.
And I think the public, one of the reasons why they don't want to look at this truth, the scientific proof, because we have done the tests. It's, you know, it's proven. Out of fear, Probably that's the biggest reason that people don't want to look at it. But it's time, since what our country is going through, to everybody to wake up, because we have to save humanity.
Absolutely.
We have to start with us first. So,
and it's totally doable when we show up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way to stop us. You know, anything is possible.
well, I think you've made a big step for coming here and getting this paperwork, and I'm so happy that you got Rhode Island on the docket here.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, I was certainly hoping when I stood up with the rain totals in front of Huffman that he would go, you know, at least give me a little bit, but he didn't give me an inch.
Right.
So,
Well, that's our federals. And again, if he's complying with the Obama bill and strategy, and now it's the Trump bill, because
so he's paid through them?
well, I think if he wants to get his paycheck, he's going to comply with the regulations of this weather modification.
God.
And that's the thing. I mean, these
because
federal
it is
bills,
California. It
yeah,
is California.
It's a federal bill that that Trump has put HR 353 forth. That was in April. So everything we're seeing in the sky, all of this pollution and different forms of geoengineering, that's all technically legal. And that's why we're opposing it.
Right.
And why we're trying to spearhead this, not just in the United States, because, again, we're doing this for our brothers and sisters around the world, like in China and Russia and India, these other places. They're not going to have the opportunity to challenge their government. It's just not going to happen.
Now, doesn't France have a ban on geoengineering?
No, nope, there are no countries that have a ban on geoengineering. We're actually the first, this is the first legislative initiative, as far as that I know, that has been introduced in a state, so it has legal counsel. It's a legal document.
Right.
I think there have definitely been other people that have pushed this type of idea forth, but now, like you said, we're kind of at the place where we have our paperwork together and we're connecting our dots and just getting more people involved in the different states so that they feel like empowered.
Yeah, well, understanding the root and the scientific proof, I mean, it's simple. It's straightforward.
Absolutely.
So there's no reason that we can't all band together to get this
Absolutely.
complete.
Absolutely.
And I just give you gratitude and kudos for all the work that you're doing. Oh my God.
Thank you.
You are
really.
just doing this tirelessly. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad that we're working together, and it's hard to believe it's been 2 years. But I think that we're getting somewhere.
Is there
now.
anything else you want to share about this? That I know that you have to, protect your privacy, and understandable. And but if there's anything else that you want to share.
Well, I just want to encourage people to go ahead and get involved in whatever issue it is. Just be part of the solution. So there's a ton of different issues out there. I hope that geoengineering and weather modification is going to be more and more mainstream. And, we have a lot of issues to tackle. So the great news is that there's so many people doing great work right now.
Yeah, and this will also go out on a podcast.
Awesome.
So, as well as on YouTube and, of course, Marin TV.
Yeah.
Thanks to Marin TV.
Yeah. How many shows are we at?
You mean you and I?
Well, no,
or
you.
just me?
Yeah.
Well,
because
this
you
will
hit
be
some milestones.
This will be 156.
Wow.
I think 156. 150.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Of course, about the first half or the first third were 2 segments.
Okay.
So, I can't really count, but it is 2 because I had to, it's all, each one has its own message. And I'm going to keep going.
That's awesome. Yeah, so happy that you are. And we're so lucky to be talking about something that's so important. And also the 5G is really important.
Yes.
There's some new federal bills that have come out that are attempting to deploy this sort of infrastructure and remove any obstacles, which would be people that object to it. And so luckily, you know, again, the 5G movement, if you go to 05G.com, or you can go to whatis5G.info, is a great site too.
And 5G is the omission of radiation on your cell phone and your smart
meters.
Smart meters, and what else?
The cell towers emit a great deal of radiation. In your house, you have to check the wireless devices that you have, like even the ones that they hook up from Verizon and they put it on the wall. Again, this is emissions, and we're trying to just cut down our emissions and really get safe with our technology and switch from wireless back to the fiber optics.
Right.
And it's really easy to
do.
do.
Ethernet, and you can get an adapter on for your cell phone. When you're at home, you can get an adapter, and that contains all of that.
Yeah.
And instead of using that Wi-Fi, and so there are solutions, and of course, Oregon.
Yeah, that's right. I actually have a piece of that.
Yeah, I carry mine. That's made specifically?
Yes, this was made by Leo at Positive Oregon. It's riseperspective.com, and it's tuned to 432, and it's
what does that mean?
432 is the frequency of the Earth. Okay, and so that's what we're all supposed to be vibrating along with. And unfortunately, with the deployment of all of these emissions, it's like a blanket on us. And that's why we want to reduce our exposure as much as possible. And we need to get rid of this smart meter infrastructure, go back to analog, and then just be safe with our technology. I mean, I still see people at the airport and here and there that are just, they have the phone on their head, I don't want to be
driving in the cars doing this.
Yeah,
and it's like that's a triple whammy.
Right, because they don't realize, it's just you're absorbing, you're cooking your brain basically.
Well,
you don't want to do that.
And what was really, shocking for me is to see that women, they put their phones right in their bra.
Right.
And they have cancer there.
Right.
I mean, there's one in particular, I don't know her name, but I did see a video and it showed the cancer. So she ended up, so it's so important to get educated on this so we can have the solutions.
Right.
I mean, we have the solution. It's acting on the for solutions.
Exactly, especially with our young people, because what we're finding is the laptops cause infertility, and so again, we want to be really safe with our technology, and it's not that we don't want to have it, it's just that we want it to be safe.
Right.
And that's something that we can all do.
And focus on the solutions to be safe.
Exactly.
Well. Yes,
awesome.
I keep
yours too.
I keep mine too. And I noticed that it turns dark a little bit.
Okay.
And what does that mean?
It's just.
Is this going to wear out?
No.
Okay.
It's just you can charge them up in the sun.
Oh, okay.
If you go to 05G.com in the Oregon corner, there's a few different artisans from around the world that are making this, and there are a lot of people that do it. But
what's in this?
It's different kinds of metals, BBs, and it's all tuned. And this is like a little generator, they call it. We've gifted like dozens of these to towers. And what it does is it counteracts the negative kind of frequencies that are coming at us and generates its own.
The radiation?
Yes. And then this generates its own frequency, which counteracts what is going on with the blanket of just the electromagnetism. And in fact, the electromagnetism, the grid itself, is being understood now to be causing so many health problems, so it's sort of like the lead pipes from the Romans. The Romans had the lead pipes, and they thought, this is great, we're going to get our water, and we have our bathrooms and all this. And they poison themselves and cause
yeah.
infertility. And so again, it's like that's sort of the wireless where we want to just always question industry because they're just trying to get a profit and they're not complying with safety regulations. So we want to just make sure, okay, we don't need the wireless. First of all, it's harmful to the bees. It's harmful to the trees, all our pollinators. And so we have to just go back to old school. It's safe, it's reliable, it's fast, and it's not going to kill bees and people, and you know, it's not going to cause that. So
there again, the key word is getting educated.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
The public getting educated.
Exactly.
So they can join the band.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Can do.
Can do, for sure, for sure, for sure.
Great. Well, thank you so much for
Is there
inviting
anything
me
else?
back.
I mean, I know this was impromptu, but we're doing it,
Yeah,
and we'll get it out there. This is so important.
And people can start calling Senator McGuire and Senator McGuire and Assembly Member Levine, and because we're going to be just really supporting them, and hopefully we can get them to introduce the legislation and really get behind them and help them to get it to pass.
Is there anybody, other key senators in the state of California?
I would suggest that people go first to their person in their district. And then we should focus on the senators and committee members that are on the Environmental Committee, the Agriculture Committee. You could go to the health committees, and people with in these committees is where they'll be likely to introduce the bill. That's where the bill will come onto the House floor. And so that's a good place to go and just start making the phone calls to the offices and say, do you know anything? Are you familiar with the geoengineering and the weather modification? Just find out where they are, because chances are they don't know that it's already got regulations, and they probably don't know about your lab tests. We even have people that got blood work. We have people that have gotten their soil tested. I mean, it's just, we have all the science. Like you said, we just have to go present it. And, you know, don't be afraid to engage in the process. It can be overwhelming, but if you just take it a step at a time,
one step at a time,
and then give us a call at geoengineering.com, and we will go with you, you know, and support your efforts every step of the way.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, it's been great having you again.
Pleasure, and I hope to come back again soon.
Yeah, well, you'll have to.
Yeah, well,
for
keep
sure,
you posted.
because I know you miss California.
Oh, I know, I love California. But this week we'll be in Pennsylvania, New York, and Maryland, pushing the legislation in those states. And then we're going to be headed to Texas and Maine.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah, getting there.
You're doing it. One at a time.
One at a time.
You know? All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I haven't even been paying attention to the time. What time is it? What? A who?
Sign out.
I got 34 minutes on the tape. Just do a sign out.
Sweet.
Okay. Well, sign out. Thank you, Jolie, and I will put all of the contact information and on the video and also the podcast. And this is just number 5 of more to come. Awesome. To keep updated on this information. And I appreciate my wonderful crew that was thrown together at the last minute. Yay. Ginger and Brad, thank you. And of course, Marin TV. And become a member of Marin TV. And this is where the information comes from. Thank you. Okay.
Awesome.